This is an official statement from Nike. Nike's commitment to supporting and uplifting Portland's North and Northeast community is unwavering. Well, I mean, mostly unwavering because we are reimagining Nike's retail space, permanently closing our current location at 2650 Northeast Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. All right, we're supporting, but we're reimagining and we're closing. Let's get into it. Here we go. This is not shocking. This comes as no shock to anybody, but Nike officially abandons efforts to reopen its Northeast Portland community store. Last year, I think it was about a year ago, Nike said, yeah, you know what? We'd love to stay open, but Mayor Ted of Portland, we would love if we could have some of your police officers come and do some security because we're getting robbed like there is no tomorrow. And Portland, Mayor Ted had to come back and say, don't have enough cops. You know, with that whole fiasco where he was, doing the arm around Antifa and that defund the police thing. It seems that a lot of folks don't want to be police officers in Portland. It's weird, right? It's crazy. I don't get it. No, this whole thing has just gone, against the grain of everything that is business. And this is what you get. So Nike initially said it was, this is temporary. We are reimagining. We're rethinking our approach here. We're going to come up with something. And this is where we sit. So they basically said, yeah, no can do. Boom, done. And this neighborhood is like, oh, that's not good. Cause this was a big pull for the area, right? It's a big store, big national store. Store has been closed since last year due to theft problems. At one point, Nike requested off-duty police officer provide security. Sorry, let me clue you guys in here. But the mayor said no. And the mayor had to say no. He doesn't have enough cops to provide basic safety functions for the residents of Portland. Invariably, they are short how many police officers? A third of the shift is just basically missing because they don't have the numbers. And that is oftentimes that is with overtime officers. So I've read reports as low as, well, we had 2 officers on the shift. I mean, hairy, right? I mean, you don't have enough cops. So Mayor Ted does not have the ability to say, well, we'll just give you a few of our extra guys just sitting around doing nothing. It's just not happening in Portland. So Nike's commitment to supporting and uplifting, well, I mean, it's there, but not really on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. It's not happening there. And considering future locations as part of this community's long-term revitalization plan, well, you gotta get some more police and you gotta start throwing some people in jail. And you basically just have to start, the whole law and order thing. You got to bring some order to the streets, and that is just not happening. So why would Nike reopen? That's the real question, right? Why would Nike reopen? They're not going to. This is it's ridiculous. True to our roots, we will seek the input of local community organizations and leaders to determine the best new location outside of Portland. They didn't say that, but they might as well, right? Do you remember REI? REI had a store and they were selling stuff underneath the overpass, basically had a secondhand market, a secondary market block, a couple of blocks from the actual REI store where everything was being sold. I mean, a lot of tents in Portland. There's big demand for REI goods in Portland and Nike as well, because Nike, such a recognizable name brand. You can sell a new pair of Nikes all day long and you can get that next, batch of fentanyl that you need. So, this is what you got going on. One of the interesting things and I had some input from law enforcement in Portland on this one. And one of the interesting things that I remember was when Nike basically came out and said, hey, Mayor Ted, we would love your help. We would love your participation with this whole public safety thing by giving us some of your police officers as security. And it's my understanding that is basically Nike's way of, they don't want to take responsibility for getting involved with a lawsuit with somebody doing something crazy, coming in, stealing from their store, and their store security, their in-house store security does something, somebody sues, or you've got some kind of racial lawsuit. You're only arresting XYZ members of the community. Can't do that. They don't want to be involved with that. So if they have police officers from Portland Police Bureau, then that's who they go after, right? It's basically taking the liability from going after any of these shoplifters off of Nike's security force, and placing it on Portland Police Bureau. Well, I mean, the numbers just aren't there to be able to do that. So it was an easy call, but I thought that's pretty interesting when a company comes right out and basically says, yeah, we're more than happy to reopen, but we need some of your police officers to do so. Oh, it's not happening? Oh, okay. Then it's not happening. Portland community leader Ron Herndon said a Nike representative called Thursday night to inform him that the community store would be closing permanently. And I don't think any of us are shocked at this. You're not seeing stores reopen. Nothing has changed positively. You don't have more police officers. In fact, things have arguably gotten worse. Some of the numbers I've seen, the numbers have gotten worse, and shoplifting wise, and some levels of crime. It's very disappointing, Herndon said. I wish we could have had a different outcome. What would that have been? People don't want to run businesses where their employees are, they're accosted. Just the whole thing of crime on the streets in Portland is creating a situation where business culture and that type of criminal activity, they don't mesh. And so Nike, in its infinite wisdom, says, oh, well, we got two options. One, we can reopen, or two, we can just close. We're going to close permanently. Here you go. Herndon and the Black United Front approached Nike nearly 4 decades ago and urged the company to build its first ever factory store on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, then called Union Avenue. The store opened in 1984 and became a Portland institution, eventually outgrowing its original home and moving to its current location in 2000. But the outlet went on an indefinite hiatus last year following a prominent rise in shoplifting. And that wasn't just Portland, right? That was everywhere. It's like you just gave a hall pass to all those shoplifters out there, all those gang members. Let's be honest, right? And there you go. So you got a whole bunch of people. You got organized retail theft. You got gangs going in, because we see the footage. We're not oblivious. We're not blind. So this Nike story, I mean, I didn't see this going any other way, right? It's like, oh, you're going to reopen? Oh, okay. Good luck with that. Nike quietly closed the store at some point in October. Okay. So it was October, with no official statement other than a message on the company's website saying closed for the next 7 days. Do you remember that? I remember that. I'm like, next 7 days. And then I remember it was a couple of weeks after this had happened, and I podcasted, well, it was 2 weeks ago, and Nike said they're closed for the next 7 days. Maybe it was 2 months ago. I don't even remember. But the point is, it was, yeah, we're going to be closed probably indefinitely. 7 days quickly turned into weeks and then months with little word from Nike. Although there were indications that the company was working behind the scenes to try to get the doors back open. I think this is a strategy to not look like they're the big corporate entity that they are, and that they're closing for a particular reason, which is they are being shoplifted basically out of the market. And they didn't want to do something with their own security where it placed them in a bad position. Hey, all the people that you're arresting, the optics of this are not looking good. Know what I mean? The optics of this are, to look at all these folks that you've arrested. This isn't good. We can't have that. What's going on with the Nike store and Martin M. King Wade Jr., right? That's what they're trying to avoid. So what they do, they shut her down and they move on. You know why? Because they can. To me, that's not a bad call. Now, you want to talk about the community. All right. Well, that's a massive loss for the community. Yes. But the community is the one that's got the members, and, these folks aren't coming from just nowhere. So the community kind of needs to look inward and go, okay, what are we going to do to turn this around? Like really do to turn it around. What are you going to do to stop the shoplifting? What are you going to do to stop all the shenanigans going on in Portland? Same thing with Seattle. Same thing with any of these cities that have these issues. In a letter sent to Mayor Ted Wheeler in February, Nike officials confirmed that the store had closed due to deteriorating public safety conditions and rapid escalation in retail theft. When you don't prosecute people stealing from stores, they get the idea that they can just do this willy-nilly and there's going to be no repercussions. And that's what's happened. And that's where we sit. And that's why we see all of these dash and grab videos going on continuously. And in other communities, normal communities, because the same policies, well, we don't want to go after gang members because the optics on that's not good. That's not a good look. We don't want to have that reflect badly on us. Close the store down. And that's what they've done. And referenced prior meetings between Nike officials, city staff, and the police, but said they had not yet reached a workable solution to reopen. They don't want to do it. They don't need to. So what they'll do now is they will look outside of Portland. They'll look in the burbs. They will reopen a store there, just like REI has done. REI closed down their store in Incorporated Portland and moved out to, I forget where it was. Was it Hillsborough? I can't remember. Beaverton? No, I think they've already got a store there. It's still kind of Portland, but it's outside of city limits, and they're able to say, well, we're still part of the community. Yeah, you're not in the part of the community where you're getting robbed every day multiple times. So there's that. So yeah, we get it. Nike offered to directly pay for dedicated police support to reopen the store, either by contracting off-duty uniformed police bureau officers to guard the store or by entering into an agreement with the city to fund additional full-time officers. The only way Portland is making a go of public safety right now is by paying their police officers massive amounts of overtime and double overtime at that, right? Double overtime at that. So they don't have the ability to take some of their police officers and say, hey, yeah, you guys want to go do, overtime work you guys want to do contract work for, I don't even know how that works, but you guys want to go guard the Nike store? That's the bottom line, right? The offer included a deadline of May 1st, with Nike hinting in the letter that the closure could become permanent if the city didn't accept one of the ideas. Well, that is exactly what has happened. And is this shocking? No, this is not shocking. This is like, all right. Okay. Yeah. That that did close permanently. Oh, well, what'd you think, right? What would we think was going to happen? Internal city emails obtained by KGW showed that several officials in Wheeler's office reviewed the letter, but the city couldn't agree to the company's proposal because it couldn't spare any police officers. All right. It wasn't a question of money, according to the city's. Well, it is a question of money too, because the city's got a massive red budget, right? Negative budget. So you can't be bleeding money everywhere. But this is one that I think if the city did have the police officers, they would have tried to resurrect this. But Nike is not the only game in town, right? This is not the only store that Portland's trying to protect from leaving. And they have had a plethora of stores up and close. One of the ones was, we had a hardware store. What did we have? Another store that a recent one in Portland where they said it's been around for years. Family owned store. Was it a hardware store? Maybe it was a hardware store. I can't remember, but they basically said, we're retiring and we're going to close down the location. There was no mention of safety issues, but situation does not help any store stay in business. Mayor Ted Wheeler, reiterated that position in a statement Friday, saying that he was very disappointed with the decision to make the store's closure permanent. I'm sure he is. But when he was out there playing grab ass with Antifa and Black Lives Matter, that didn't really send the message of law and order. That didn't really send the message of protecting said residents from all kinds of just nonsense. Right? And then Portland went through the defund the police thing. And they're like, oh, it's the greatest concept ever. This is the best thing ever. I mean, we need to really rework this whole thing. A couple of years later, could you spare some cops to guard our store? No. Oh, okay. No, we don't have enough. Oh, we don't have enough. My team and city staff have worked tirelessly and in good faith. Well, this is Mayor Ted talking. And in good faith with Nike. Yeah, but you blew it long before this issue ever came up, right? For almost a year to offer creative solutions to their safety challenges. How about you just keep your streets a little bit safer? How about that? How about you arrest and prosecute and put in jail some folks doing some shoplifting? How about that? Yeah. One of the other stories I'm going to read today is how at the federal building in downtown San Francisco, they have put up a massive fence. They've got 10 Fed cop cars lining the street. If the city wants to get rid of some of this criminal activity, they can do it, and they can do it quickly. And they have proven that. City of Seattle. How quick did it take to clear out Chop Chaz? Yeah, one morning. That's all it took. When the city wants to do something, they can. But, the message that Nike is giving them is that, yeah, you haven't really done anything. You're not willing to work with us. And so we're just going to close down. Ultimately, the city cannot offer Nike or any other private business with dedicated off-duty Portland Police Bureau officers due to their staffing shortage. And we've known this. So this to me was this is just kind of how this should have gone, and it did. And it's not shocking. It's not surprising. I remain committed to supporting Nike's future success in Portland and look forward to their future investments in our community, just not inside the city limits of Portland, because they're going to go to the burbs where there's better coverage, public safety coverage. So there's that. And it's a different ballgame. So the Seoul District Business Association called the closure decision a major economic blow to the local business community in a news release on Friday. The organization said the store's presence signaled that major brands were welcomed and needed in predominantly BIPOC-influenced economic spaces, giving the community confidence and economic stability and attracting further businesses and investment. So I think that's some of Nike's reluctance to bring on a heavy security presence, is because they don't want to have the optics of going after the folks that are doing the shoplifting in a major way in this store. So, you got to kind of read between some of the lines here and figure out what's going on. This news has landed like a lead balloon in our district. The Seoul District Business Association Executive Director John Washington said in a statement, "We had all been holding our breath since last November when the store quietly shuttered its doors due to internal and external theft and safety issues. But like so many of us riding out the fallout of the pandemic and protests, we held out hope that Nike, city officials, and community leaders would recalibrate and realign order. But it looks like it's game over." That is as about a succinct statement as I've seen from anybody on this issue. Guys and gals, sorry to tell you, it's lights out. Lights out for Nike in Portland. The Seoul District said Nike leadership had assured the group that the store's closure is in no way a message of abandonment from Nike, from the North and Northeast Portland community. They're not abandoning them. They're just leaving them. Yeah. So, and the Nike leaders had pledged to work towards reimagining what a more premier retail experience could look like. I make fun of the reimagining and the rethinking because what it is just a bunch of empty words most of the time. And it is a way to give people hope. Something might happen down the road. I am going to read this last statement because there's another reimagining, but it's giving people hope where they maybe shouldn't, because until the streets get cleaned up, until you've actually got some, repercussions for actions, which is if you're shoplifting, we're going to arrest you and you're going to do some jail time. Until you get that, why would any store that's already experienced what Nike already has, why would they open back up? I mean, they're not gluttons for punishment. Oh yeah, let's just do it and just see how this goes. I'm sure this will work out. No, they've got business managers and they've got people that work in groups and go, is this a good idea to No, hell no. Hell to the no. We're not reopening there. We get jacked multiple times every single day. Our employees, they're afraid to come into work. Just like the federal building in San Francisco. Have to put up a big fence, build a wall around the federal building so the employees can feel comfortable, because employees have been told to work from home as they clean that building up. It's the federal building in San Francisco. That's how bad these West Coast cities have gotten. It's pretty crazy. Referencing Nike's statement pledging continued support for the North and Northeast Portland community and the plan for reimagining its retail spaces, the Seoul District called for the reimagining process to include a plan for what will happen to the Shuttered stores building on M.L. King Jr.'s Boulevard. They got to do something with it, right? What was it? What did I see that the shut down? Oh, it was the Westfield Mall had a it was the Nordstrom in the Westfield Mall had a massive video arcade going in. Is that what I read? Let me know if that's not correct. But yeah, there's gonna be uses out there. Somebody for these spaces is gonna go, okay, we got a Nike store. That's a 2-story structure. What can we do with that? We're going to get some cheap rent. And you know what? We're going to blow off. We don't have shoplifting issue. So we're not going to worry about that. Our stuff isn't going to go out the front door like that. We're going to get broken into at night. They're going to try and steal the ATM and all that good stuff. But we're going to be able to make a go of it because we've got a different plan. Some other business will come in, just like businesses that are taking over, what few spaces are being reimagined in San Francisco. And I am not seeing a lot of that in Portland. There have been a few businesses that have either, re-upped their lease or taken down some more space, but that's the vast exception, right? The majority of stuff that we are seeing in Portland are businesses closing down and leaving. That has been the predominant storyline, and public safety has a lot to do with it, because if your customers don't feel comfortable coming in, if your employees don't feel comfortable coming in, and if you're losing thousands of dollars a day in loss prevention, in just loss out the front door, and you got to risk being sued, not only from, some kind of physical confrontation where you try and grab the bag of stuff that the shoplifter is leaving, or some kind of racial lawsuit. Hey, who are you arresting here? I don't see any of this community being arrested. Only this community is being arrested. You're trying to avoid a lawsuit along those lines. So then you don't go after anybody. That is not the way to stay in business. Instead, you end up issuing a statement where you use either reimagining or rethinking, because then that gives people the idea that you're doing something and that you're committed to stay in Portland and that you're committed to this neighborhood, when in fact, you've already shut her down and you've already said, yeah, we're closed, but don't worry, we might be back. And last October when they did that, I remember thinking, they ain't coming back, because why would they? To go right back into the same environment that they shut it down for first time around. They were just trying to get, maybe a little bit of liability off of their end. All right. So we'll have some police in here. Maybe it'll slow down some of the shoplifting a little bit. I don't know. Does having a police officer, present, is that going to do it? Are you going to allow them to arrest individual shoplifters? And then is there going to be any prosecution of shoplifters in Portland? You've got a district attorney in Schmidt in Welcome to the Schmidt Show in Portland that, doesn't seem to really be interested in putting anybody in jail. So, I don't blame Nike. I think this is just more of, well, told you so. I mean, this is not a hard one to wrap your head around. It's kind of just this continuation of this business cycle that we talk about, that when you can't make money, but you can make money just outside of whatever city you're in and whatever burb you're in, that's where there's this massive difference. You've got some communities that are just wrecked and hollowed out. And then you've got other areas that are doing really well because the whole work from home thing is, that's where people are. And so it's the difference between the Westfield Mall, San Francisco Center, and then they've got a mall, I think it's in San Jose, that is just killing it. Killing it. The Westfield Mall in San Jose is doing great, but it's not in the, near the Tenderloin area of San Francisco. So it doesn't have that impact. And a lot of these areas outside of official city limits in other communities, they're just not experiencing the criminal activity that this area of Nike has seen, that this area of Portland has seen. So much ado about nothing to me. It's like, well, that figures. Yeah. There you go. So expect to see this from other stores that have said, we might come back, but we've got a lease that goes another 3 years. They ain't coming back. They're not going to reimagine. They're not going to rethink. That's what their official story is. That's what they're going to tell you. That's so that they can, sneak off quietly into the night and open up a store in, some suburb where there isn't just daily shoplifting going on and criminal activity that just runs unfettered. Yeah. I mean, imagine that's what businesses want. Weird, right? All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. I will catch up with you on the next one. Bye for now.